Hello everyone, No Life here, and today we're going to be discussing the recently reworked skill tree that has been brought to Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game. So, overall, I'm going to go ahead and say that the rework of the skill tree was a big W. It fixed a lot of issues with the game, such as ridiculous perk combos like Ana being able to have grappler and choose fight, and just no sell in general on Ana, which is just stupid for a whole list of reasons that veteran players will be able to easily identify why. They even changed some annoying builds, such as the chase build on Hitchhiker, which ironically ended up giving to Sissy, which I think is honestly worse, but that's just my opinion of that perhaps biased Sissy here, Sissy main, discussing how powerful I think the chase build is on her. But getting to the point here, although, again, I think that the skill tree rework was a good thing that Gun did. There's still a lot of issues that it has, and I believe need to be fixed. So, first and foremost, we have the fact that, quite frankly, this feels kind of rushed. You look at people like Julie and Johnny who can't even get to level 10 player level, or I'm sorry, character level, when going up a certain path of the tree. It just screams a lack of polish, really. Like if they took their time with it, you'd be able to get your character to level 10 no matter where you go. Now, granted, it's usually just one skill point away from making them level 10, but still, it's something small like that that shouldn't be happening. And what's worse is, I was told that even though they claimed to have fixed the fact that Julie couldn't get to level 10 from the left side of her skill tree, it's still only a level 9 when you go over to the left side. So perhaps they fixed one particular path that she couldn't get to level 10, but there's still apparently one other branching path that only gets to the 9. Now, Johnny's a weird one. Although he can't get to level 10 from going to the right side of his tree, most notably over here to where he gets rubber boots, he still strangely can get like 30 something attribute points. So I think the issue with Johnny is really the fact that, unlike the rest of the Fed members, for some reason he can only average around two, maybe three grandpa perks, no matter which side you go on. I'm not sure why Johnny isn't a character they want to have too many grandpa perks at once, whereas you have Sissy who always has around four to six. And mind you, one of the paths, her left side of the tree here, it gives her always in sync, but the right side of a tree also gives her always in sync. So this is something that they fixed pretty early on with Nancy, where she could get bars to the point on two different sides of the tree. So they need to be fair here and remove always in sync from her left side of the tree. As she can get six perks over there, so her only getting five will first and foremost be more in tune with the rest of her other paths of the tree. But it also allows them to do something that, again, I have an issue with: the unbalance of skill points, or should I say attribute points on people's trees. Sissy typically averages around 25 points no matter which side of the tree you go on. Whereas again, you go to Johnny, this guy's getting nearly 35 attribute points no matter where you go in the tree. So Johnny already has a jack of all trades type of attribute split up where he has both his savagery and endurance at 30. So it's very easy for you to max out one of the categories and then get the other one at least at 40. Or you could just simply balance out his categories since 42 into his savagery is all you need to get him to be able to, I believe it's six shot a victim. And you can just really put the rest into getting his harvest until he's 25, so he's not terrible at feet like Leatherface. Whereas again with Sissy, her savagery is already terrible. Her stamina is mediocre. Only thing she really has going for her is her swing speed harvesting. So she's very dependent on attribute points to get her in a decent spot. So the fact that she doesn't really have many attribute points to really work with, it just feels like the gun's afraid to make Sissy good or something. Because it's just really strange that, again, she has such a low attribute split up. So that's something I definitely would love to see them change. Them giving her more attribute points on her tree. Next up, we have victim perks. I've said it before my verdict of the update, but I'm going to say it again here now. They seriously need to take a second look at not just the victims, really just all the characters' perks in general. There's some questionable perks to add to victims' trees, such as Anna not being able to get agitator or Taekwondo, yet she gets overlooked, which doesn't really fit in with her playstyle. I'm not sure if they intended Anna to be a character that you kind of creeped around with and just kind of lived, and then you try to finish up an objective that the others died doing. So Overlook kind of plays into that. And then her ability and high toughness is there to keep her alive when she is discovered, but most people play Anna as kind of a distraction. So this is kind of the part where Gunn needs to suck it up and realizes that their vision for this game isn't something that the players are willing to carry out. They might have intended the game to be stealthy, this, that, and the third, but people don't really play that way. So we have stuff like Julie with Jumpstart, which I don't agree with. We can remove No Self from Honest Tree, which is already, a perk version of her ability. I don't think that Julie should have the perk version of her ability either. So I'd love it if they would remove Jumpstart from a tree and give her back Agitator. As I have no idea why they got rid of Agitator, which again is another point. They just moved some strange perks from people's trees. Like I can see why they removed Bomb Squad and Saboteur from Leland, as it made no sense for them to have any of those perks. But the fact that they remove Taekwondo from Connie, which makes sense, yet left Last Ditch Effort, which is just going to get Connie killed. She has to put into her attribute points to be able to potentially win a fight with Last Ditch Effort when her toughness is 20 and her strength is 15. If you're around 30% health, you're going to end up dying when you try to grapple someone with Connie. The only way you win that is if your finger game is amazing and theirs is not. But I guess the next step we would be going over the family perks that make zero sense, such as them adding Fresh's Best and Sip 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 to everyone's skill trees except Leatherface. Leatherface only gets Sip Sip Sip, but he can't combo that with Surgical. With Fresh's Best and Sip Sip Sip, you want to combo with Surgical. They are bad perks on their own because they have drawbacks, whereas Surgical does not. Just flat out gives you double the blood you would from hitting someone. It makes no sense to go for Sip 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 or Fresh's Best by themselves when you can just go for Surgical. If you really want to get extra blood from hitting someone, you just go for Surgical. Them having it on a tree is an alternative to maybe add in because you wanted another perk, but it's not the same route as Surgical. No. If you're not going to be able to have Surgical on a tree to combo with any of those perks, why? They can even just have it. So let's say Surgical's in the middle here, then you got to go to the left for Sip 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 or the right for Fresh's Best. That's the simplest way they could just do things with it. They don't have to have this strange setup where you go to the right side for Surgical and Leatherface or up for Sip Sip Sip. You don't want to have any perk that reduces Leatherface's damage. 20% is not that big of a deal on Leatherface since he hits so hard, but if I'm not mistaken, that damage penalty works for his overhead. So his overhead doing less than 80 damage is something you're really going to feel, especially with higher toughness, as then you're going to need like two overheads and a follow-up swing to kill someone, maybe more. Because again, 20% is such a high number. 10% is not that bad, but 20% is very noticeable on Bubba. I knew that from when I was leveling up Scout originally, when it still reduced damage as opposed to the stamina like it does now. Continuing on with Leatherface, easily tuckered out does nothing on him. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have Big Swings, which only does stuff for him. It doesn't. That penalty of you, what is it? The swings, the big swing, it increases your damage, but it makes it so your stamina is decreased further by your attacks. I'm phrasing it so weird. That doesn't apply to Leatherface. They need to change big swing so it makes him stall faster in exchange for the damage. Just like with easily tuckered out, it should make it so he stalls less from swinging. If they can't do any of those things, those perks that he removed for their tree, like I'm sorry for the Leatherface bands out there. I use Bubba from time to time too, and I can definitely say I love how good big swings feels on him. But it's not fair. He has a perk that literally just buffs his damage with no drawbacks, and it's a little ridiculous. If it's too much to make exclusively easily tuckered out and big swings, not affect his stall, and they need to make two unique perks that is his version of big swings or easily tuckered out. Otherwise, easily tuckered out at the very least needs to be removed from his tree and replace it with an attribute point or something. Because again, it just makes no sense for him to have easily tuckered out. It does nothing on him. It literally does it. It's just a negative perk. It just makes the stamina worse, and you can't even pair it with hysterical shrimp, so you can't at least make the stamina penalty work in any regard. And speaking of which, we have the right side of Bubba's tree. The right side of Bubba's tree is terrible. There's zero reason to go over to that right side of the tree. Formerly, Scout used to be on that side of the tree, but for some reason they moved up to the middle path, which allows you to combine Scout with Rough Cut. Now the right side of the tree is just a barren wasteland. The only thing worthwhile getting over there is activated. Bloodlust is a great damage perk, but you have to throw someone in the gallows to get that to work. Unless you get lucky in the basement and bleed someone out so you can hook them, you're not going to get Bloodlust to work early enough for it to matter. And then I'm not activated, although that's a great perk of Bubba. I've had a lot of fond memories with activated. You're not going to be able to make it just activated alone work on Bubba. You need more than that one perk. You can't even get violent or hysterical shrift going to the right side of the tree. Like Bubba's skill tree was always very linear. It was always based on how do you want to be the most effective at killing people. Now it's just literally go up and get scout, extend rough cut, or go left and do big swings serrated. you know, so that's something they really need to reconsider history. Going back to Johnny, they added a bunch of perks to increase his effectiveness at barging down doors, but battering ram literally does nothing on him. Then there's Master Key. Master Key, that's something I would only really go for if you want to knock people over for trying to latch a door in their face. You still have a chance of doing that by default, but it just guarantees it. So unless you want to do the slash and cast masterizer build, you could buy tenderizer with Master Key. I mean, that perk's at least usable. It's still a strange perk from the ad, but battering ram 100% needs to be removed from its tree. They've already confirmed that, much like Bring Home the Bacon or Bubba, they're going to be doing something with Patience, which literally doesn't do anything but make his tracking costs less for standing still in his ability, which is only going to really do anything when you find Prince. And even then, Johnny's ability lasts so long, you don't really even need anything to make it last longer. So, my suggestion is, in addition to fixing Slippery on Sissy's tree, which I don't know how they couldn't fix within 2 weeks, they need to do something like remove Battering Ram on Johnny, replace with Barroom Hero. Having a perk that allows Johnny to recover from stuns faster would be amazing on him, and it makes sense seeing as he's the third tallest family member, so he should naturally be able to shrug off some abuse a little better than he does now. Um, that's really about it for small time changes for the tree. Now, this is me kind of getting into some like, wishful thinking. Ideally, I personally would love if they would have stepped further with the skill tree instead of being so safe with it. They just made a system where everyone is limited to spending 50 skill points on each character of their tree. And with those 50 skill points, we're able to just go all over the tree, just cherry pick what we want. If we want to have 50 attribute points, we should be able to do that. If we want to use our 50 our 50 points to just get nothing but as many perks as possible, we should be able to do that. If we want to have a good split of being able to, let's say, get 30 attribute points and use the other 20 points to get perks, we should be able to do that. This would still keep it so we follow the dev's vision of not having a jack of all trades, but at the same time, have a lot more freedom and flexibility with our trees so we could really build the characters that we want. That is personally what I'd love to see for the skill tree system. But I personally would just be able to settle with them just allowing us to maybe after the initial branching path that lets us go left, right, up, down, etc. They kind of let us bridge over to some paths a bit more. So let's say at this little pathway here, you'd be able to kind of get everything from the left side and the right side. Again, that's a little bit of a wishful thinking, but I just feel like, especially with them removing random nodes, which really affected Bubba, as he really depended on being able to, let's say, get violent and hysterical random to pair with scout and etc. He's like, don't get me wrong, Bubba's still strong, but it just feels like something's missing on him, you know. He already lacked a lot of diversity into the builds and stuff he could do, but my gosh, bro, it's just so awful. Look at it, what they did to the right side of the skill tree, especially. But I think that's really just about it for the skill tree. Again, just overall, them taking a second look at some of these perks, you know. and fixing things like for some reason them deciding Danny shouldn't have extra drip. Literally everybody else should have it all. It's just one of those more questionable changes they made to this skill tree system, and just overall felt like they really had it set in stone that they wanted to remove at least one meta perk from all the characters, and then add one strong new meta perk with them, and then add one just left field perk to everybody. Again, it's just very. It just kind of feels like what DBD does with a lot of their perk reworks, where they just nerf the hell out of one perk for no reason at all, and then they like buff the heck out of one perk for no reason. I just don't feel like that's the way to shake up a meta at all. Just to overly nerf something to the point that it's useless, or just again just remove a perk for no reason off a character. But uh, before I start rambling for no apparent reason at all, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right now. So I'm actually gonna end this off by making one little PSA because I kind of want to at least be early to this news rather than late. But it has been confirmed on Twitter that Julie's new outfit will be coming out on the 4th of July. So that's a nice thing that they did. I personally kind of hope they do stuff like this more in the future where they kind of give us a new cosmetic on a weekly basis. That way we always have something to look forward to instead of just being, every other week. So I could definitely say the images of Julie's outfit, them showing the full image. I didn't expect her legs to be that thick. She's got some very meaty thighs there. So all you Julie mains better be careful because I imagine a lot of hungry hitchhiker mains are definitely going to want to focus you and make sure that they put some Julie thighs on their plates there. But although a lot of people have been asking for bikini Julie, I definitely think that Julie in some short shorts would definitely kind of help bridge that gap to who knows, and definitely maybe we finally get Julie in some sort of swimsuit or something like that. But as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, and let's keep these discussions down below. Let me tell you, tell me how you feel about the skill tree. Um, tell me how you feel about my ideas for the skill tree changes, etc. What ideas do you have? Let's get some discussions going down here. And as always, if you haven't already, get a life.